The following program is hosted by immature, irreverent, obnoxious, and often disgusting young men. Listener discretion is advised.
This time on Nude Clan, groovy.
Shall we play a game?
He says a lot of things.
You got several things to do.
In the Genesis version.
You got work, kids in school. What do you
Not
do
really.
when it's all over?
How do you hand something from one player to another?
I thought that was the funny thing.
Shut up! Turn on the TV, pick up the controller and play some games with the new clan.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode
Woo,
of
doggy!
Nude Clan, the video game podcast that cheats to win at their video games. I am your host, Caleb Schweiss,
I'm Joe.
I'm A4.
and today we are going to be reviewing what little of Earthworm Jim we didn't cheat our way through. I'm just kidding, of course.
This
sorta.
is, I believe, Felicia Nomiko's nominated game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pretty
so
sure, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
For a bitch
Long
of a
time friend of
game.
the show. So I
Bitch
just
of a game.
underlining that.
Yeah, no, thanks. That's really awesome. Thanks for fucking us over
Who are you?
after all these years. I am Caleb.
I'm Joe.
I'm A4. We already did this, so.
Oh fuck!
And
Just kill me. I can't
this is
remember
Welcome
anything.
to Nude Clan, the video game podcast that loves introductions so much. They do it twice. I'm your host,
An intro so nice, we did it twice.
Caleb.
This is not
just
the first
like,
time I did,
just
I did
like,
this like last month too.
I think
Just
so.
like Schweiss's Super Nintendo
Oh.
card of Earthworm Jim likes to introduce itself twice. After
Yeah.
you beat the game, you just play it again.
Hi, I'm Earthworm Jim. Here's level 2. What the heck? Give us your song requests at 8675309. That's 8675309. Thank you, folks. So, guys, I beat this, quote unquote, like a couple days back. A4 beat it a little longer ago, like a week,
Well, I beat it like a month ago.
like a month. Anyway, Earthworm Jim is a series.
It is.
It's a
Sure
series.
is. It sure is a series.
It's a series of video
Earthworm
games
Jim.
that was a platformer deal back in the day. It wasn't really exclusive to a console. It was initially released on the Genesis, the Super NES, the Sega CD. Eventually came to Game Boy, Game Gear, a bunch of different things. It is a run and gun and a platformer and a bitch, which
Developed by Shiny Entertainment, who would go on to make a sequel to this game, as well as MDK, which is like another shooter game, and eventually Enter the Matrix. So
Nice. So a true classic. Fuck! I
Yeah.
should have put that on my fucking list of games we should play.
you probably should have. You've been
Damn.
talking that one up for years.
It's okay. Once Nude Clan is over, I might actually have time to play it for fun.
Yeah.
the character of Earthworm Jim, I believe, was created by cartoonist Doug TenNapel, who also created the cartoon Cat Scratch on Nickelodeon.
Never heard of
and
it.
It was like a mid-2000s cartoon.
That's what
Earthworm Jim itself had a long-lasting legacy, as not only did this game get a few sequels, it got a cartoon on, I believe, Fox, and as well as graphic novels based on the game. And there's supposed to be like a new Earthworm Jim game coming out for the Intellivision Amico console. I don't know if that came out yet or not.
I don't think so. I saw that there was something in development. I saw that they made sure to say that the creator was not involved.
Well, yeah, he's not. He's probably not allowed to work on anything anymore because he's Christian, and that's verboten in the new Hollywood Reich. But
Yeah, he's
they also teased like
he-
a new. What?
He's like a right winger too, according to the.
Well, yeah, I
wiki
thought
page.
that was implied, but
Yeah. Didn't
Yeah,
we just
he's,
talk about this?
We talked about this
did.
pre-show.
Welcome to Nude Clan. Yeah,
I'm Joe.
I'm Caleb.
I'm A4. Doug TenNapel also did album artwork for the Christian ska band Five Iron Frenzy. So there's that.
Gross.
They
That
should
sounds-
go on tour with Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah, and then
yeah,
we
that-
can.
Yeah, that's a great matchup.
And then we can pay even more for.
And you could pay $5.
Five.
That's
I like
about-
Five Iron Frenzy.
That's about how much entertainment value you'd get out of Five-Figure Death Punch. It's about $5 worth of ticket price.
Did you hear the one about them ruining Megadeth's tour?
Did you hear the one about them ruining Megadeth's tour? Yeah.
Doug Tenaple also, you guys might know this game or might not. He did the claymation point-and-click game for the PC, The Neverhood.
No.
He was like the main guy behind that. He also did the sequel for it, Skull Monkeys, which is a platformer on the PS1.
Is the Neverhood a
the-
chastity allegory?
No, and then
Okay.
The Neverhood got like a spiritual sequel in Armacrog, which is on PS4 and
Armaclit?
modern stuff. I know. Jacob knows of Armacrog, so
Yeah.
He doesn't count, though.
but he doesn't count.
Jake or Jacob?
Jacob, the one who doesn't count.
Oh, well, Jacob counts.
Yeah, Jacob counts, but Jake doesn't.
No, yeah, just to make sure. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good. Yeah, so this is an old school motherfucker, which means that when you die, you start the whole game over again. So
When you die in the game, you die in real life.
Yeah.
They come to your house and kill you.
Yeah, exactly. So the game was met with good reception. Obviously, it spawned a cartoon. I feel like I watched the cartoon as a kid. Now that I've played the game and I've seen the character, it's kind of bringing back some memories of a show when I was younger.
I do not think I watched the cartoon as a kid. I don't think I was allowed to or whatever. I also didn't really play the game as a kid. But
Oh yeah,
I did watch an episode or two of it like after beating it like recently. I found some streaming online.
Yeah, was it
And
funny?
it's funny. Yeah.
Nice.
Cute.
Yeah, so this thing's got a pretty good legacy. Obviously, sequels, all sorts of other shit. They were trying to reboot it, like we said, and it's had like planned releases for reboots, but they've ultimately
Yeah, there was like
been
a
canceled.
3D teaser. I want to say like earlier this year or like late last year for like another Earthworm Jim thing. And it looked like dog shit, but I mean,
Yeah, they wanted to do a PSP game as well, but that one ended up getting scrapped. So it's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those old school video games that they tried to make a big thing, and it worked for a while, but they haven't been able to just bring it back to life over
yeah.
the years.
Although Doug Tenaple did like do a Kickstarter for the graphic novel based on Earthworm Jim, and it was apparently like the highest grossing Kickstarter for a graphic novel like ever.
Oh wow,
So
nice.
that's pretty impressive.
So there's a crowd there, but it might not be a video game crowd per se.
I don't know. I mean, like, it's hard to say. Yeah, because it basically became a weird like multimedia thing in the '90s, but it has since fizzled out since then. There was like I remember in the late 2000s they did do an HD port of this game for Xbox Live Arcade, but I don't think you can buy that anymore.
Mm.
Earthworm
Yeah.
Jim also got a cameo role in the fighting game Clay Fighter 63 and a third Sculptor's Cut, which was
Of
available
course.
exclusively at Blockbuster.
Of
So
course.
there's that because Interplay published that, and they also published Earthworm Jim.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the game's plot is fucking bare minimum. Jim's an earthworm until he finds a super suit, and it allows him to operate basically like a human being. His worm body's sort of like the head, and the suit
It's a worm with a face sticking out of a giant muscular suit. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So basically what happens is you launch a cow in the very beginning of the game, and then you sort of go through a series of levels, and then that cow lands on a chick you're trying to fuck. And then that's
like the twist ending at the end is you launch this cow for seemingly no reason, and you keep getting glimpses of it throughout the game. It'll be like flying in the background in some levels,
Yeah.
and at the very end when you beat the final boss, you get to meet up with literally her name is Princess What's Her Name, and
Yeah.
the cow falls on her and crushes her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Out of 10, what do you give it?
Well, I was gonna say I'm trying to find the full name of the bad guy, the villain of this, because it's shortened to Queen Slug for a Butt, but her full name, if I can find it real quick here, is please give me the full name. The evil queen, pulsating, bloated, festering, sweaty, pus-filled, malformed slug for a butt.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, that's her full name.
AKA the artist previously known as Slug for Butt.
Yeah.
AKA, what's the other? Psychro is the other character you run into. He's like a recurring boss if you lose a race in between levels. Because each time
Yeah,
you
there's
finish
an
a
asteroid
level,
race.
Yeah, there's an asteroid
in
race
between
that
every
allows
level.
you to gain a new set of lives, a continue, and then also if you fail to beat him in the race, you have to fight him. He's pretty easy though, so Once you figure out, how to
I would
fucking
say he's
beat him.
easy, except the strategy to beat him I never figured out until I realized you have to shoot him, then you have to whip him.
Yes. Yep.
The game does not make that clear whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. You have to figure it out, and it's hard to figure out when you're getting your ass kicked by this fucking game that's just brutal. It's hard to figure anything out. But let that aside. That's pretty much what the story is, though. It's really simplistic. It's just kind of a joke story. Just kind of having a good time. So,
It's like very slapstick and wacky.
Yeah.
It's not really meant to be taken seriously.
and his whole character is kind of that way. He's just kind of goofing off. So
I mean, like one of the bosses, you go to this underwater level and you have like a balls hard level where you're trying to like get through this maze underwater without breaking this like glass orb you're in. And the boss at the end of it is literally just like a fish in a fishbowl, and you just hit him once and he gets knocked over and you win.
yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah.
It's a joke, and that's a joke, especially after such a bastardly hard level. I had to look. I was like, I can't figure out where to go, guys, and so I was just kind of scumming my lives on that level because I found. Or no, that was when A4 sent me the map, and then I found 2 lives, and so I would, when I got to that level, when I'd play the game, I'd just max out my life count and then finish that level up and go into the next.
Because
one.
there's like air pumps that give you like that add to your timer. I think in the first level there's a few of them, and then in this level there's just one that takes you up to 99 seconds, and then you have that long to get through this maze. But there's like a hidden path that leads to another one that fills you back up a bit.
And you have
like,
to
I don't
go
know how
there.
I don't know how the fuck you're supposed to beat that level without that thing.
I don't think
without
you
that
can.
extra air.
I honestly don't think you can.
I assume you can because it'd be kind of fucked up to like make that mandatory. But
Yeah,
then
especially
again, this is-
back in the day when it's like you fuck up and you got to start over the whole game, and you're like, "Fuck, where the
Yeah.
fuck do I go?" I
like,
mean,
it's
at that
not
point,
a long game. Like if you don't like get game over, you could probably beat this thing in an hour or two. But you're gonna
yeah.
get a game over.
yeah. So we got those characters. We got this ball of snot. I guess is a character.
What's
Jim's,
his name? Major Booger or something?
Yeah,
Like,
something. And then we have Jim's retard dog. Spot is that his
Pete-
name?
Pete,
No,
no,
Pete.
Peter Puppy.
Peter
Because the level
Puppy.
is for Pete's sake, where you have to save him.
Dude, that fucking level, I was so mad. Oh my god.
That might be the most brutal level of the entire game because it goes on for way too long.
The last
And
level's
you have to be
yeah.
perfect.
The last level's harder, but that one there's 2 spots like right at the very end that if you fuck up, you're done. And also
Mhm.
there's a thing where if you fall through the map, if you like fall through the floor, you just die. Whereas if you fuck up and Pete like rages and beats your ass, you only lose 10% of your health. But if you accidentally fall underneath, you're just dead.
Yep.
So it's maddening. It's maddening in this game.
It's like it's an auto scroller and an escort mission all rolled up into one.
Yeah. And yeah, it's tough, dude. But yeah, that's
It's
pretty much
brutal.
the cast of characters, I believe. And then the doctor, I guess, or the scientist guy.
Professor Monkey for a head.
Yeah. Yeah. You only see him for like one level, though. But that's kind of how everybody is, though. Thank God. Especially for that dog, that dumb fuck.
The dog is like the other major character in the cartoon, and I think he's voiced by Rob Paulson, who's the voice of like Yakko from the Animaniacs and Pinky from Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to give story out of 10, A4?
Story. I mean, I appreciate the humor and the absurdity of it all, so I'm gonna give it like a 6. But yeah, it's clearly just there to be like a wacky, goofy, vehicle for getting Jim through all these crazy levels, most of which don't really have any connecting tissue as it is. Like literally the second level, you're in hell for some reason, and
Yeah.
you know after you go to hell, then you're underwater, then you're like bungee jumping over a booger lake.
Yeah.
yeah,
Fighting
it's-
a booger.
Yeah,
It sounds very imaginative to me.
it's
it
very
might be
imaginative.
more like
It's-
in the art, than it is in the story.
Yeah,
but-
I'm giving it a 6 more for the artistry and the absurdity and the humor than anything. Like it's not really a plot you're following. And again, like the fact that they have this running joke about launching a cow at the beginning of the game and it gets paid off at the end where, the princess, the object of the game that you're even trying to get to, just gets killed.
Yeah,
by
George
it.
Lucas could learn a thing or two from this game. Should have played it.
It's like poetry; they rhyme.
It does, yeah. I'm going to give it a 7.
That's a good reference there, A4. Thank you.
I love Red Letter Media. Anyway,
I'm going to give it a 7. I think the jokes are pretty good. I think it's interesting, I was really mad at it for a while, but it's interesting as far as the story goes. It's kind of just a fun excuse to make a wacky character do wacky things. And I don't know. I just think it's funny. My kids liked it. Like Nicholas, my 3-year-old, he thought it was pretty funny. He was having a good time watching the worm. And, yeah, some of those earthworms, they can get pretty fucking big, dude. Like, we found one the other day.
In real life?
Yeah, in real
Okay.
life. We found one the other day in real life that was like a foot long. It was
Yeah.
like crazy. I was like,
Yeah,
holy
man.
fuck, dude.
Yeah.
It's not in either version that we played. I played the Genesis version. He played the SNES version. It's not in either version we played, but in one of them that has like CD quality audio, either the Sega CD version or the PC version. One of the endings, and I forget how you even get this. It's either you beat it on the hardest difficulty, you beat it on the easiest. The ending is just explaining like the science behind earthworms very dryly to you. It's like, wow, you beat the game. Here's some fact about earthworms.
Nice.
So that just reminded me of that, where you're just like, let's just talk about earthworms for real for a second.
Yeah, that's funny. So the biggest thing this game has drawing us to it and me fleeing from it in terror is the gameplay aspect.
Yeah.
What does this thing play like, A4?
It plays like a hot sauce enema. No,
Yeah,
like
dog
the gameplay.
shit.
The gameplay is good. It's just the problem is it's such an old school game. It's very unforgiving. The design, I would say, is pretty good for the most part. It's just the margin for error is so minuscule. You have to be like pixel perfect if you don't want to take damage.
Yeah. Did you play this
And
on
they're pretty forgiving.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say they're pretty forgiving with like giving you like health pickups in the middle of levels and stuff. Just don't die because I don't think they respawn. No, they do respawn. I'm thinking of Mega Man. Sorry. What were you gonna ask me? Did I play this on what?
Did you play this on a CRTV?
I did not. I played because I'm playing on the Genesis Mini, so it hooks up via HDMI. So I don't know what kind of input lag situation I had, but it didn't really feel like there was one.
Yeah, I plugged it into the CRTV with my Super Nintendo that I bought that I thought I had to buy and I didn't actually have to buy.
We
Yeah.
actually talked about that on the show. You might want to update the story.
Oh, so Jake's destroyed Super NES? Not actually destroyed at all. It was fine. It was damaged before. I was just paranoid and like convinced myself, much like running over that homeless man, convinced myself that it had happened when in reality somebody else ran him over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
And the SNES was broken already. And the crazy thing was I bought it and the guy said it was normally $90, but he'd sell it to me for $75 because I spent a lot of money at that fucking game store, like
Oh, okay.
way too much money. Way too much. But I went to the other game store in Orem, that DVD Game Exchange. Guess how much their Super NESs were? $120.
Oh, shit. You got a good deal?
Yeah.
You actually got a good deal?
I feel pretty good. Yeah, and it's like a really nice. It's not got the nasty, funky yellow color. It's all gray. It looks really
yeah.
good. It's a
Nah,
good
you got to
looking-
get the yellow Super Nintendo, man. That's what gives it its extra flavor. It's got its zest.
Jake's got his, and honestly, all it reminds me of is like someone who smoked in the house. Like it just looks like it's got tar on it from cigarettes.
Yeah. Reminds me of my family.
Reminds me of my childhood. My mom did smoke indoors when I was a kid.
They all did.
And I had asthma, so
I had asthma too.
thanks a lot.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Just blowing like cigarette smoke
yeah.
directly in your face.
God, remember smoking sections in restaurants?
Yeah.
That like disappeared between the time we were children and when we were teenagers.
It's so uncommon now, dude. It was like a year and a half ago, but Jace, we were walking into Walmart and like a dude was smoking, and Jace was like, "What is he doing?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean? He's smoking." He's like, "Smoking what?" And I'm like, "It's tobacco.
I mean-
It's a drug thing." And I was like, "Wow, he's never seen someone smoke."
Like I'd say
So
I'd say
weird.
it's got to be weird for the next generation growing up, where like smoking is such a big taboo, and it's like it's been like basically like segregated to like very specific spots of like society. But like even then, like I don't smoke, so I don't really like I'm not affected by this. But like so like I don't really think about smoking in public either because it's just not a thing that I do.
Yeah.
But I imagine if you do smoke, it's like a huge fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Clean Air Act. So
Good.
you got to stay 25 feet away from entrances to buildings.
Yeah.
Nobody follows that, but yeah,
They are following it a lot more than they
they used to.
than they
yeah,
used to,
they
and
not
that
do it
wasn't
at
a rule.
all.
So yeah, it's crazy. You don't see
Now-
people
now
smoke
everybody
nearly
just-
as often.
Now everybody just vapes and then complains that they get to be segregated just like everybody that smokes. And I'm like, no. This
Yeah.
is
They're
not
they're stealing nicotine valor.
like this is not for us. It's because we think you're losers, so you're gonna go out there with them. And look, I've said it a million times. I think vaping is definitely better than smoking. But you can't say I quit if you're still addicted to the fucking nicotine. That's the part when people say I quit, they mean they quit the addiction, not they quit the means to obtain the addictive substance. So you're a pussy.
There's also no way that someone can. They would have to take some serious, some serious proving out whether or not that people actually die from secondhand smoke. How do you even track that?
It's
you can't
impossible.
track that. Everybody has come into contact with secondhand smoke. So how can you even say?
But every one of them that has eventually dies, Joe.
Yeah, and therefore you can just make up a statistic
You sure can.
about how dangerous secondhand smoke is. I have
And who knows what else they've been exposed to, these people that got cancer
like,
from
have you been
secondhand smoke.
outside? It's disgusting out there.
Yeah, sometimes here it's worse in Utah than it is in China.
Pollution is terrible.
Yeah.
And so it's just
So-
fucking like anyway.
I would say that playing Earthworm Jim is like trying to find a smoking section in a theme park or something. It's very difficult,
Yeah.
but doable.
Yeah, it's doable. It is hard though. It is hard.
It's one of those old school games where like the more you play it and the more you like remember the enemy patterns and like kind of figure out the little tricks here and there, you will get better the more you play this.
Yeah, I can get to the I could probably get to the dog level and maybe use one retry, one game over.
Yeah.
So the way it works
Depends
is,
on how much that booger fucker knocks you into the wall.
yeah, that little
Or
fuck
into the thing at the bottom of the booger like that just snaps its jaws and kills you immediately.
There was a lot of screaming at that one because sometimes he would be a real fucking cunt and like smack me right at the last second. I try to like ram him out of the way and he just won't move and I get eaten by the booger beast.
Yeah, that happened to me a lot, dude. I lost a lot of lives to that fucking level.
The internet told me a great strat, and it should have been obvious because he'll like follow you as you go up. So all you do is
You're
go
gonna do the same thing I
right on
did,
the
yeah.
wall. Yeah, ride
Yeah.
that wall and then fucking veer away and then slam his little booger ass into the wall, and he'll hit
Yeah,
it like
he
over
like-
and over and over again.
Because you'll be like bungeeing slightly ahead of him, so you'll go up first. So like just hug the wall, and then right as you're both coming up to like where you're gonna stop, just like move away from the wall a little bit and then head down, and it should be enough to knock him into the wall. Like that third phase is a pain in the ass. First two are fine. That third one almost feels like it's cheating because you'll
it's
get down to the bottom
unfair.
and you'll try to like get away from him, and he'll ram you into the monster in the lake.
Yeah.
That kills you immediately if it gets you.
You just have
And
to
then
make
the
sure
monster follows you too.
you got to make sure the monster's on the opposite side. You just basically have to switch sides midstream.
It's tricky, but it's doable.
Yeah. Be a little gay boy halfway through.
There's only
Midstream.
one instance. There's only one instance in this game where I can think of where like you have to take damage. It's in the underwater level. They
bullshit,
have those little
yeah.
orange cats that are like looking around like to beat you up, and one of them is like in a tube that is like it's mandatory that you go through this tube to continue.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's-
how you're supposed to avoid taking damage because if
You
you shoot
can't.
or whip those cats, that doesn't do anything.
You
So
can't avoid
They're
it.
just invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they'd put that in there, but it's the kind of gameplay where like everything's coming at you so hard and fast that like repetitious play is the only thing that's gonna. I mean, these old school games work like this, where like they had to make them hard as balls, so you didn't just buy the game, beat it in an hour, and then return it.
Yeah.
Or like to make a worthwhile rental. Like I'm thinking of like there's that level in the lab where like you get caught in the cage and then it like lowers you into like a section where there's like these funnels in the 8 major directions, and then stuff will just fall from those funnels to hit you, and you just basically have to hold the shoot button and like hope that you hit them in time.
Yeah.
And they come real fast. Like even when I see them coming, I don't have enough time to react.
Yeah, I mean, if you
But-
think I come fast, all you groupies out there, you have no idea. This thing comes faster, and it's crazy because it's like it's just trying to rip you off, and then it rewards you. It's like, oh, here's all this health, here's all this good stuff, and then you do it again later, and you're like, fuck.
They do it like twice in a row, but they're nice about it. They give you like a shitload of ammo when you're like moving between the two spots.
yeah, so that was nice.
Yeah, it's just old school hard. It's
yeah,
it's
but
definitely doable with a lot of practice, but you are going to lose a lot of lives and a lot of health at first.
I probably spent about 10, 11, 12 hours on this game, maybe. And I got to the final zone naturally, and then I died pretty early on
Yeah.
in the final zone.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, hey, A4 got to the end and died, and we allowed him to use cheats to get to that level again and retry it. And I was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'm going to do it too. So then when I got to the end, and died, I just skipped to that end level and maxed out my lives over and over again and just did the level. I just like went from beginning to end, and I was like, all right. But
Yeah.
now I think now I could probably beat the game naturally since I kind of know where to go. But sometimes even in that final zone, those little guys that like come out of the wall and chomp you in half, those guys can
Yeah.
ruin your lives fast. And I
Yeah,
know how to
for
kill
sure.
them. You can whip them, but the timing on the whipping them is kind of tough mixed with the
Yeah.
actual like animations of being
Well,
able
it
to
doesn't
whip
help
'em.
that like the things that you get to step on to like get to them, like you can't step on them forever. They'll go away.
Oh, on mine they slide. I slide. They don't go away. I
That
just kind
too,
of
yeah.
slide off. Yeah.
That too. But yeah, it's a pain.
So it's an old school shoot 'em up like platformer for sure. And I'm not very good at platformers. This one I actually got pretty good at. I mean, honestly, I could get to the underwater level and probably have 5-6 lives. I don't know where all the extra lives are, but to me it doesn't matter.
Well, that's what I was telling you. Is like I had to look up a walkthrough, like where a lot of the extra lives were hanging out, just so I knew where to go
Yeah,
in each level.
I think maybe doing an extra lives where I did. So look up a map on the water underwater to find the 2 extra lives, and then just keep blowing yourself up to gain 1. And that's what I did in Sonic
Yeah,
as well. when
Because
I
you always
played
had a net
Sonic.
positive
Yeah,
of 1.
you'd always net 1 life, but you run out of lives as you progress and play the game further. So I think I need the one in the second to last level. What is the second? Is that the Pete one?
I think it's the Pete one.
Now
the thing
fuck
is,
that. Never mind. Fuck the Pete
The
level.
thing is, though, that Pete level, as long as that level goes on for, there's an optional extra section you can do. If
Yeah,
you
I
whip him
know.
over his house,
I
and
saw
apparently
that.
has a shitload of extra lives. But at that point, I was like, I'm not playing this level anymore. Fuck this shit.
Yeah,
'Cause it's supposed to be way harder.
the
section
guide. Yeah, the guide told me to do it, and I was like, "Fuck you! I'm not going
Yeah,
in
I'm
there."
not. I'll look up a walkthrough of what that section looks like because I'm not playing that. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, so I would recommend looking up a map for the underwater level to life scum there, and then probably one maybe for the last level, maybe for the one before, for Pete's sake, the like sciencey one where you're in the lab. That would probably be a good
Although
one.
if you're in the Genesis, if you're playing the Genesis version, there's another level between the lab one and the Pete one where you're like in intestines and there's like flying poop balls coming at you.
Oh, really?
That one's not that fun. Yeah, that one's pretty brutal.
I mean, that's kind of what Buttville is like. You're like up someone's asshole. That's what it looks
Well,
like.
because
in the
like
game.
her butt takes up like the whole last section of the level.
I didn't
'cause
realize
I had
that
to
was
look up.
her ass.
You wouldn't be able to tell. I had to look up another map for that one because I died at the end. I'm like, how close was I to the end? And I looked. I'm like, oh, I was like right at the end, of course. Because there's a jump right near the end. Because Jim can like, if he whips a hook, he can like swing on it. And there's a hook jump that you have to do at the end before you get to like the last checkpoint before the last boss fights.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
It's
if
kind
the
of
timing is off on that, you just fall down and die.
Yeah,
So it's like it's fucked up. Yeah.
I did it the first time, and then I
Really?
fucked up the
Damn.
second time, and then I fucked up the third time. Because when I cheesed it, I got to the end, and I was like, "Hey, fuck it! Like, I'm just gonna go to the last level, spam my lives, and just beat this thing." And when I did, it just kept kicking me back to like the asteroid mission between levels 1 and 2, and I was like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
your shit like glitched. And then
Yeah.
like you said, it took you to the hell level.
But it
I don't know
kept
why.
doing it. It did it 3 times. I
Yeah,
would beat
that's-
the last chick. I'd blast her when I'm on that rotating platform, and that's the end.
Yeah,
I
that's the
looked it
final.
up.
That's the final boss. Yeah.
I looked it up online, but for some reason, maybe it's getting its revenge because I used cheats. That's my guess. Or there's a glitch. But I was able to skip to the. Like, what do you do after that? Because I saw there was a level that I could skip to that's like a in the dark level where I'm like hopping
Oh, that's
around.
a bonus level. You have to do something specific in the lab level to get that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a
I
secret
was,
level.
I was afraid that like, oh shit, did I not beat it?
No, yeah, I was looking stuff up, and that's just that's like a bonus level you can do. It's optional.
Okay, good. So I then just skipped to the princess and I got the cutscene. So when I use the code to skip to the princess, it works. But when I use the code to skip to the last level and then beat it, it glitches.
I don't know.
I don't
have
know
no idea.
either.
That's weird.
But I will say, honestly, the gameplay is pretty tight in this thing. For as old as it is, it's a little unforgiving sometimes. You got to be precise.
It's unforgiving by today's standards, just due to the fact that like checkpoints are so few and far between, and it's so unforgiving. But like,
And you start the whole
can see
fucker
why-
over again when you lose.
yeah, but I can see why people in the '90s ate this series up because it's like, at least for this first one, the gameplay is good.
Oh yeah, it's good.
I got like those uninitiated. All you can really do is like run. You can shoot his gun, which has limited ammo, but you can pick up like more ammo.
it'll
and, like,
regen
super
when it
shots.
gets under 100 too. It'll auto regen.
Yeah, but you rarely like ever get under that. And then he can whip his head, which also does damage, and you can swing on hooks from that.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
it's
god, Joe jump scare.
yeah, and it's just a side-scrolling platformer, bullet hell game kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like
th-
it's not like the same thing as like Contra, but
No.
it does have that like shooting element where like you do have a few different ways you can tackle different enemies, and like some enemies like the shooting works on them, and sometimes you have to whip them, and the game's not really clear on a lot of those.
No, sometimes you can do both. Like the second to last boss fight where you're shooting the thing in the middle of the screen and you got the spike balls and then the little platforms rolling around underneath you.
Yeah,
That one, the guy who I watched shot it to death, but I found that whipping it is actually way better. It does a lot more damage and it clears it faster. So
well, even like the first mini boss, that garbage robot thing, like I think you can only kill it by shooting it. I
You
don't think you
can.
can whip it.
yeah, you can only shoot it. But when
Yeah.
you get it down, I can kill him in like no time, dude.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you didn't know you can't whip it, like some kid in the '90s might have been trying to whip it and just die. I mean, when I fought Psychro for the first time, I kept trying to whip him and like nothing was happening, and then or shooting him, and then he's like dazed, and then trying to shoot him again, and it didn't do anything because it gives you that visual indicator that you're doing something, but when you shoot him and he's dazed, but it doesn't tell you have to whip him after that to actually do damage.
Yeah.
So like I just wasted all my ammo on him. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I had to
Yeah.
look it up. I'm like, how do you beat Psychro?
Yeah, you got to go 12 years a slave on his ass.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's rough though. It's a rough game, but I do think it's
rough,
good.
but like it really is like honestly, despite how unforgiving it is, the gameplay is good.
Yeah, and
Um,
I've gotten pretty good at it. Like I said, I mean, I timed it, and I think I could get to all my life scumming done in like 35 minutes,
yeah.
which is like a third of the game. You know, almost.
I mean, it's
half
the
of game.
same. It's the same old school hard as something like Sonic the Hedgehog, because like you're probably not going to beat Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on your first run through, but the more you play it and the more you know like the enemy patterns and little tricks, you will eventually beat it naturally.
Wait,
So
is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 not have like saves?
No, yeah, if you get a game over,
my
you got to start
God.
over.
What is wrong with these people? Like, Final
They-
Fantasies were around at this time, and they had saves.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's a long RPG. Those games are meant to be hours long. These games, like, if you don't die, you can beat them in like an hour or two. But like, they don't want to make you pay $60-$70 for a game you can only beat for an hour. So they made it hard as balls to justify the price. Because you're probably going to have to play through it multiple times to even get to the end, let alone beat it.
That
Balls
seems
are
It's just how
known
these
for
old
their
games are.
hardness.
that seems bullshit to me. But
I mean, like Super Mario, like a
Just
game like
saying.
Super Mario World has saves, but that's because the game is fucking huge and has so many levels. But like, if you know the shortcuts, you can probably beat Mario World in like an hour or two, maybe even 15 minutes. If you do
yeah,
the right like glitches or whatever.
and
That's just the nature of these old school games.
this game is kind of harder than Cuphead in some ways, which is one of the hardest games I've played. But in other ways,
Cuphead's more
it's-
forgiving because Cuphead's more forgiving in its its inherent
like setup.
like in the setup and the design, because you're just fighting bosses, and if you lose against the boss, you only
just
lose
try
like
again.
a minute or two of your life. Earthworm Jim, you could like you could get to the boss and then like get killed, and then you have to go back through like 3-4 minutes of shit with like a fucking checkpoint, especially on that fucking heaven forbid you get a game over on that fucking thing. You got to start from the beginning.
Sorry, A4, you actually got cut off. Heaven forbid what?
Heaven forbid you fucking like game over on the for Pete's sake level, and you have to start that level over again.
Yeah, or you get damaged and then fall under the map and then lose your whole life. That's
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, because that level like
Mhm.
I'm assuming that level by itself takes like 6 whole minutes if you don't even like lose.
Yeah, and
He just moves that slow.
yeah,
it's
it's
fucked up.
hard. And
Yeah.
oh my god. That's probably my least favorite level for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But yeah, the gameplay, you get a set of lives that maxes out at 9, and then you have retries, which is a whole nother can of worms, is their joke. Because when you die,
Literally,
you
yeah.
open up a can of worms, and then that's your new continue.
Your continues are cans of worms, yeah.
And so you have 3 more lives for the worms that were in there. And then you can generate up to 9 lives again, but you have to find extra lives. And I didn't look those up, so I just did the one section of extra lives. I probably should have done 2. But by the time I got to the last level, I had like 4 cans ready to open up, so I had like 12 lives. And
I did too, and I kept losing them, and then I kept having to load my fucking save state at the beginning of the last level to try and go through it all again.
yeah, I don't know what a save state is, but
I saved the game, I could reload at the beginning of the last level, because on the Genesis Mini, when you hit the reset button, it brings up like a menu, and you can like save where you were in case you have to stop playing or whatever. So I basically did the same thing you did, just like in a different form.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have played this one on the Genesis. The colors look a lot more vibrant.
This is that weird time in the 16-bit console war where like the two versions are basically the same game, but like visually and audibly they're like so different that like they both have their own pros and cons. Like
Yeah.
people are saying the visuals on the Super Nintendo version look way better than the Genesis version, but apparently the music on the Genesis version's way better. It's a little more chunky and kind of has like a bit more of a nice crunch to it, just because of that sound chip. And then the
Yeah.
Genesis version has a whole extra level that you didn't get.
Yeah, I think the colors on the Genesis version are like more impressive looking too. Like overall, it doesn't look as good, but it's like more colorful. So it's kind
There's
of a
a-
cool little thing.
I
That's
forget
going
I
on.
forget the guy's name on YouTube, but there's a guy who does like videos where he compares like two versions of a game like this. And the first one he did was Earthworm Jim, so I watched that one
Oh, nice,
to see the comparisons between the SNES and the Genesis version.
nice. So yeah, what are you gonna give? What are you gonna give gameplay, Afer?
I'm gonna give it a 7. I think the gameplay's tight. It's solid. A lot of the design of the levels is actually pretty good, all things considered. Even though sometimes it's really hard to tell where you're supposed to go next. But it's just so old school and very unforgiving that, like, yeah, it hasn't aged especially well in that regard. So it can be very frustrating to someone playing it in today's age and didn't grow up with it.
All right, I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it looks really good, or not looks really good. Plays really well. I just put my score in for graphics and design, and so I was looking at that as I started speaking.
I also no,
okay.
sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say it's brutally hard, but I was starting to get pretty good at it, and I kind of like enjoyed playing it. I had a good time playing this game, even though I was getting really pissed off because I was like, "Fuck, it's taking all my time." I think back in the day, it would have been a great experience, and
There's a level of satisfaction playing it again, like once you've like gotten a game over halfway through, and like you get further each time.
yeah,
Like you can feel yourself getting better at the game, so that feels real good.
yeah, and you only would get that feeling from an old school game that would fuck you this hard. So
Yeah.
you know, my asshole's a little sore, but it kind of feels good. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I just took a mega shit. It's like it's a little tender,
After eating
but,
like a night of hot wings, yeah.
but it feels kind of good too.
Someone's gonna have to tell us, whoever's been fucked in the ass.
Does it feel like
Does
when
it
you
feel
take a
like
big
you
shit?
Yeah, does it feel like it just took a big shit?
Is that why it's satisfying when I take mega shits? Am I gay? Is that what's happening here?
Is it tickling your prostate? when
I
you're doing
it
that?
must be. It's more like scraping it, like just fucking violently. I don't need my fiber.
Bring more knives in the chat has been trying to say too that Earthworm Jim came out at the same time as another game called Boogerman for the Sega Genesis, also published by Interplay. Boogerman also had a cameo as a fighter in Clay Fighter 63 and a third Sculptor's Cut. So there's that.
Oh, nice. Is Booger Man that guy in the booger level, or is he different?
No, he looks like an old dude with like a giant chin in pajamas, and he literally picks and flicks his boogers, and that's his attacks.
Mm.
Yeah, I know of Boogerman. I've never played it, but
I
yeah,
know
it's
of
another
him.
Genesis game.
All right. Yeah, gameplay's tight for an old school game. I did enjoy playing it. I'm glad I'm done, but I enjoyed playing it. The boss fights were cool. They were unique. Bunch of different ways to go about things.
Well, and the game's constantly throwing new shit at you. Like that bungee cord level is like totally different from everything else in the game.
It's totally
The
wacky,
fucking-
out of place. Yeah.
Yeah, the Pete's sake thing is weird because it comes out of nowhere. It's like suddenly you're protecting this dog and all that jazz, and then like even the asteroid race between every level is like such a like a whiplash to what you were just doing in
Yeah.
any given level.
Yeah, it's like there's no excuse, no rhyme or reason for it. It's just this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
All right, so graphics and design. I think the game looks pretty damn good. I plugged it into my
looks
CRTV.
really good for a 16-bit game. Yeah,
Yeah, I plugged it into my CRTV, it looks good, man. The Super NES looks good. There's something about the 2D that doesn't age.
Yeah, it's almost as if it might be the greatest console of all time.
Yeah, if it had more than 15 great games on it, I guess I could agree. But it does look fantastic for the time, especially. It's a really good looking game. Like I said, the from what I saw, the Genesis color palette is a little better. But even then, this game just looks fantastic on the CRTV. It looked like shit when I plugged it into my normal HD TV. It looked like dog shit. But if you play this as intended, it's a good-looking game. I really like the designs of the characters. They're all pretty unique. A lot of them were kind of plain, but they're all kind of wacky and goofy in their own way. And
yeah, like Evil the cat, the boss of the Hell World, is just like a cat with like a fucking triangle for a head, like an upside-down triangle.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, and then in Hell, you've got like the snowman that you fight. Like, there's a bunch of weird shit, and the design, what they did with the graphics in that fight against the cat, because first time you're fighting him, he's like above you and he's launching these fireballs down, and they kind of come down and try to hit you. But if you jump out of the way,
you're only a worm at this point. Like you lost your suit.
Yeah, so you're just hopping around as a worm, and when you jump, it like hits this the back of the bottom of the platform that he's on, and it's made of wax, and just slowly over time, as you jump enough times, it like begins to melt, and then it breaks it down. And it collapses underneath him. Stuff like that's really cool for how old this game is. Like, it's kind of like a little puzzle aspect, and you get a little graphical update every time it gets more and more destroyed. I really enjoyed it. I thought the animations were fun and kooky, and yeah, I think it looks great. So
yeah, Doug TenNapel really has like that signature kind of like angular, kind of edgy '90s art style that like feels very Ren and Stimpy-ish in execution, and the animations definitely also play out like that in this game. Yeah, it looks awesome. You're saying I guess the color palette's a little more washed out in the Super Nintendo version, but like there's so much more detail in the backgrounds of that version that I almost say that one looks way better. Not that the Genesis version's any slouch, it still looks good.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the sheer amount of like crazy different areas you go through. Like you're going through like a junkyard, and then you're going through hell, and then you're going underwater, and then you're in like a science lab, and then you're in some guy's intestines or some shit. It all looks so cool. I think the only knock I'd really give the graphics in this is that like the backgrounds are so busy that sometimes it's hard to tell what can hurt you and what can't, or like where you're supposed to go.
In Hell, especially
in like the hell level, because like everything in the hell level is so chewed up and like spiky. It's like, is this gonna hurt me? Where do I go next? Like,
yeah.
And the last level too. The last level's also like the weird like hairs hanging down at the beginning. Like I didn't realize you could hang on to those and climb those from below.
Yeah, that's not good.
At first.
You got to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I felt like I was like up someone's ass or like something, like some hairy asshole. It's weird. It's
but
nasty.
this is definitely a game from a time when like having that fidelity of like animation and background detail was like a huge selling point. Because we didn't have the 3D graphics to really like wow everybody yet, so it was just like, look at the amazing sprite work and animation we can do with this console.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna give graphics a 9 for this. Visually like that's what this game has going the most for it, I think. Besides maybe just its attitude is just, but the visuals are part and parcel with this game's attitude. It very much encapsulates that like mid 90s edgy cartoon kind of vibe. And I think it works beautifully in this thing. So I'm giving it a 9 for graphics.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 10. I think it looks really fantastic. I was kind of teetering between 9 and 10, but I think just how great everything looks and how kind of unique the style is, I think it gets the perfect score for graphics and design. It's a really good-looking game. And, you know, it might not be my favorite style because I fucking hate Ren and Stimpy. But
oh, really?
I thought that show was so stupid, dude.
It is stupid, but it's like funny stupid.
And it's similar to that. It's not my favorite, but it definitely has a lot of personality, and so I'm gonna give it a full score out of 10 there.
Yeah.
Another category that I actually kind of like in this game, sound and music. I think the soundtrack's fun, man. Like honestly, I can still think of the opening area, like boo ba da doo da da doo da da doo doo. Like it's stuck in my head.
It's got a lot of good. Yeah, it's got like it's got a good variety of stuff. Like you have that opening level, which kind of has like this driving bass line to it, and then you get to the hell level, and it's just playing in Night on Bald Mountain, and then it like you hear a record scratch, and it just switches to like a completely different song for some reason,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a boom, 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 and then like Night on Bald Mountain will come back in later, but it fits for the hell level.
Yeah, and you got like people screaming and shit in the background on the hell
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
Which for a minute, like I thought it was like people outside or some shit for just a moment
Yeah.
there, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on out there?" Like, oh, it's the game. I'm in hell. That's right.
Yeah.
Jim. He says groovy.
So
That's about it.
from looking at the comparison video, Jim says groovy in your version, but he actually has a lot more voice lines in the SNES version. He'll say like "Whoa, Nelly," and like.
Oh yeah, he says that too. When you hit
Okay, yeah,
when you hit the boosters in the space missions. Yeah, he'll say.
Yeah,
"Whoa, Nelly."
All I know is like apparently he just says groovy like in the normal levels in the SNES version, but in the Genesis version he'll say things like "wee doggy," and he'll be like "blaster" or whatever when he picks up the super blaster power up thing.
Oh yeah, doesn't say any
Yeah.
of that. He just says groovy and whoa Nelly. That's it.
Yeah, and there's something else I forget, but yeah, he's got more voice lines in the Genesis version as far as I know.
Nice.
I think he's voiced by Doug TenNapel, the creator in the video game, but in the cartoon he's voiced by Dan Castellaneta, who is Homer Simpson.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that guy's name sounds familiar.
yeah, he's also the genie in the second Aladdin movie,
Ah.
whichever one Robin Williams wasn't in.
Yeah, that was the second one. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
That was
Yeah, Return of Jafar.
Return of Jafar.
Yeah,
Dog shit movie, by the way.
he's also in Space Jam for some reason, like as himself, like at a basketball game.
I didn't see Return of Jafar until I was an adult, and I watched it. I was like, this
Yeah, it's not
feels
good.
like bad. This feels exactly like what it was, which was straight to video.
Even as a kid, I was like, man, this one sucks.
Yeah,
I
I
like
liked
the
40
first one,
Thieves.
Yeah, I like the one
Yeah,
and three more
when
as
I
a
was a
kid.
That's the only
kid.
one I haven't seen.
It's
I don't know if
okay.
it's good now.
It's not that good.
I don't know. I
now.
have Disney Plus. I could watch it at some point. So
We watched it the other day, and I was like,
Oh, you watched it the other day?
yeah.
Welcome to the 40 Thieves.
I was like,
that's the only thing I remember from that movie because I had
his
plenty
dad.
of VHSs that had an ad for that movie at the beginning, and I only just remember here, "Welcome to the 40 Thieves."
Yeah, that's
And
what I remember from the movie. So
Yeah, and it's and they were like being like, "Look, we
The
got
Hand
Robin
of
Williams
Midas.
back. He's not mad at us anymore." And he says, "It's a kindler, gentler genie. Look at that."
nice.
Anyway, yeah, Earthworm Jim. Yeah, like the sound effects and everything, very cartoony, very 90s edgy, has this sort of like attitude to it. Maybe not the same kind of attitude as like Sonic, but it's kind of got like that Ren and Stimpy vibe where it's like very wacky for the sake of being wacky,
Mhm.
but like with kind of like a bit of a grit to it. And I like it. I like just having Jim going around and being like, "Whoa, Nelly, blasting," and just with like these like groovy ass songs going on. Yeah, I really like the sound of music in this game. I'd give it an 8.
An 8. What are you taking the 2 off for?
Just because like I can't remember every single song. If I played them on like
Oh, yeah.
YouTube now, I'm sure they would come back to me, and for certain levels, like Pete's sake, I would probably have PTSD from them. But the soundtrack is good. I just don't remember a lot of the songs offhand right now.
Okay.
But like I remember liking the songs as I was playing the game. And again, there's a really big variety of like different kinds of songs in the soundtrack.
Fair enough. I'm gonna give it an 8 too, just because I can. I don't know. It's pretty good. I definitely remember the first one and then the asteroids theme, but that's kind of it. And
Because the asteroids one is like it's like a hoedown almost. It's like
yeah, the voice acting is fun and kind of kooky. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's a 10 out of 10 soundtrack.
Okay.
Voice acting is very sparse in my version, so that's what I'm going to go with. So the final category, some would say the only category for a game like this, replayability. How many times did you replay it, and how many times did you want to replay it?
I mean, I kept coming back to it. I kept like getting game over and being like, I gotta start from the beginning and try this shit again, man. No, I mean, like, there is something oddly compelling about getting a little further each time.
Yeah.
And honestly, now that I kind of have this game like down, now that I kind of know what I'm up against, I can definitely see myself playing this again, like for other years for the hog.
Yeah. We'll probably be able to rock it.
Because it's only like an hour or two long. So like as long as you're not like game overing, I could see myself playing through this game every year or so, just as a quick little like, fun little thing. It's the same thing with like the Sonic games for me,
Yeah.
where it's just like, yeah, it's short, I can play through that. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. There is something satisfying about getting to the next level and then having to start the whole fucking thing over again. There's a nice little reward there. I think there's enough secrets in the levels to kind of keep you coming back and keep you searching.
Yeah, because you and I didn't even do the lights out level or whatever.
No, I did a little bit of it when I just typed in the cheat to go to that level.
Right.
But I didn't beat it. I died.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's secret levels. There's extended levels for Pete's sake one. There's an extended version. So there's some cool stuff in there for sure. And
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I'm like, I wouldn't mind playing that game again. I wish I could play it and actually beat it legit. I was really trying to. I really was.
Yeah, I was.
I think
annoyed
given
at
enough
it.
times,
Yeah.
I think given enough times, you probably could.
Yeah.
I was annoyed at it because what it was, for you who, of course, know, Schweiss and I do the UFF podcast, Ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. You find it in iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. I was trying to get Schweiss to play Stranger of Paradise with me. Everybody's messaging us. Is like, are you guys going to do Stranger of Paradise? Because I don't listen to the 14 reviews, apparently. And and then I just, I was like, Schweiss, are you going to play, we're going to Stranger it up today? Or are we going to Paradise it up? And he just kept on going, I want to beat Earthworm Jim first. And then he'd bitch about it and be like, just fucking take the codes that let you skip to the level that you were on and just redo the level like a normal fucking game.
Yeah. Well, one of my big things against that was that when you do that, you don't have all the continues and stuff. So like if I were just going to that level and then playing from then on, I would have way fewer lives and way fewer retries and stuff. Until I got to the end and I was like, okay, I gotta beat this thing. Like this is getting too much.
Not to mention, it feels doable. Like every time you get a little farther and you're like, I can just, if I do this one more time from the beginning, I know I can get this.
Yeah. Can you imagine how long it would have taken us though, like legit, to figure out all of those bosses in the end? I know you got to the end basically the first time, or one of the times before you use the cheats, but like for me, it would have taken a while just to figure out the patterns in that last zone, like where exactly I can fall. Because there were times where I got really stupid game overs, like I'd hop too soon and get chopped in half by the.
That was
little
the same thing
centipede
for
guy.
me. Yeah.
And it's like I
just
would
the
have
nature of the game.
I would have done that too many times and just had to start over, and that's it. I didn't learn anything new. I didn't advance. I just fucked up enough on the same thing, or like the snot one. When before I looked up how to efficiently deal with that guy, like that was kicking my shit. It was
You
brutal.
didn't even know that you could press the button to like do the side check. Which is
No.
like the whole point of that level.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
I'm like,
know
how
there
the
was
fuck
a.
did you- How did you get this far without knowing that?
I got to the third one without doing that. I don't know how.
That's insane. Yeah.
And then I didn't know there was a boost while you were doing the rocket, the space race thing for the first couple times.
Yeah, you
And I
have
was
to like accelerate. Like they don't tell you that. They
Yeah.
just start you off. It's like, all right, you're racing, and they don't tell you one of the buttons is to like actually go faster, which you have to do to beat
Yeah.
Psychro.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of pain in the ass stuff, but I do like the game. I think the game is worthy. I'm kind of glad I bought it for the Super NES.
Yeah, it's
if
a
I would have bought
cool-
it for the Genesis, I wouldn't have had to buy a whole new Super NES, but because then it would have just been my console, and that would have been all. But it was the
Like
shorter
I'm
version.
debating like getting the Genesis cart now that I actually have a real Genesis. Like, yeah, it's like I like the game enough that I would do that.
Yeah. Well, give me an offer.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'll keep it.
Total
Unless you-
scores for replayability.
Unless you want to buy it. I'm going to give replayability an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
Pretty good. Not too good, but pretty good.
I could see myself playing this again. Maybe not right now. But
Yeah, give it a
in
little.
like a few months, I would give it
breather.
another shot. Try to beat it legit.
Yeah, so final thoughts on Earthworm Jim. Super NES version is pretty good. There's some pros and cons to both versions, so really just whatever you happen to have, which console you have and which one you're more familiar and comfortable with, that's the one you should play it on.
Well, and even then, I think the PC version even adds stuff that the Genesis and the SNES versions don't have. And I mean, if you have access to the XBLA version, I'm not sure what's in that, but good for you because you can't buy it anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of versions of this you can't buy anymore. It used to be on the PlayStation and all sorts of different places, but
Yeah.
check it out. It's worth your time if you like bastard old games. It is a game for you. So we have.
It's tough as nails, but it's insanely likable.
Yeah, exactly. So to recap our scores: story 7 from me, 6 for A4, 8 for gameplay from myself, 7 from A4. Graphics and design, I gave a 10. A4 gave a 9. Sound and music, 8s across the board. Replayability, 8s across the board. For a combined 41 out of 50 from myself, 38 out of 50 from A4, which is a combined 79 out of 100. Our Nude Clan official score for Earthworm Jim.
79. And by the way, I'm looking at Earthworm Jim on Metacritic right now. Not too many have like official scores here, but the Xbox 360 arcade version was 73 out of 100. So you guys scored a little higher than the Earthworm Jims on here. They just get lower from that, by the way. The Game Boy Advance is a 72 on Metacritic, and
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna play this game, Game Boy Advance is maybe not the system to play it on.
really
Because the screen's so fucking small.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a good point. And
with how like visually detailed this game is, if you're playing it without a backlight, that's got to be a pain in the fucking ass.
yeah.
So the game is slightly worse than Fallout 4, on the same level as the Outer Worlds, and just a touch above Halo 3 ODST. So to give it,
It's something it's tied for 78th greatest game of all time, according to Nude Clan.
yeah,
That's the thing you were saying about the low scores for the Xbox Live Arcade thing, though. I do remember when this came out in like 2008, 2009, and like people were complaining like, yeah, it's Earthworm Jim, you remember it, but like it's hard as shit. So
Yeah.
get ready for that if you're gonna buy this.
yeah, and that is true.
Yeah.
Do not take that lightly. This game will fuck you up.
So, guys, that is our review of Earthworm Jim. Thank you for nominating the game, Felicia.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for forcing us to play it. Everyone else that voted for it.
Yep.
Fuck you all.
next week, by the way, we will be reviewing the movie Max Payne from 2008, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Starring Mark Wahlberg. So
Another Mark Wahlberg movie.
get ready
Oh my
for
God.
that.
Yeah, the whole time.
It's gonna be on the back end of that, and yeah, it's based on a video game called Max Payne, which I believe we you guys reviewed that, right?
No, I beat Max Payne 1
But you
through
didn't review
3.
it, okay.
Yeah, early on. That was when I was early at my current job, so like that's been a while.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's
Well,
why I didn't remember very much
fair enough.
for the movie.
So yeah, watch that movie first, and you can come back and enjoy it with us. It is for free on HBO Max as of this recording.
Yep, you have 1 week to get subscribed to HBO, watch all of Sopranos, and then watch Max Payne.
Yeah.
So come hang out next episode for that review, guys. Until then, as always, live always in the nude.
Walk with your psychro held high.
Fuck boogers, I guess.
Yeah!